All right, welcome everybody to Sharks Night Shift. This is the experimental edition because I don't have the full complement of studio gear and production equipment. It's me, this wireless microphone, and my iPhone. And there we go. So let me just make sure I can hear myself, which is good. The audio seems to be coming in. Let me know if you can hear me and see me okay and if this stream is of a good quality. The sooner you can do that, the better. Then I can really get off and running here on this live stream. As for tonight, the San Jose Barracuda won 4-3 in a shootout out in Iowa. Thomas Bordeleau got his first professional hockey goal. Good for him. Cuda scored the first three. The Iowa Wild scored the next three. And that's how the game goes to a shootout. Ultimately, they get a win. But back to our game here at the Tank tonight. First off, great to be back. And just the new amenities. This brand new scoreboard right here. Sharks wearing their new jerseys, some new players. It truly is a new era. New head coach behind the bench. And you had to imagine that even though they'd already been through a couple games in Europe last weekend, that this one came with extra butterflies, extra, human elements and sensations. By the way, thanks to Triple G. Can hear you and quality is great. Alden, thank you. Now I trust you, Alden. I trust your technical evaluation of this. But again, just to go through this night and to play a pretty good game, to play a pretty good hockey game, to keep it close against a Carolina team last year that won its division, the Metro, 117 points, and they only got bigger and better this past offseason. They're poised to be one of the final few teams in the playoffs. And so for the Sharks, you've had two games against Nashville. Now you've had this one against Carolina. Some tough opponents early on. And, the first game got away from San Jose. It was 3-1. Then the empty netter make it 4-1. The second game against Nashville is 3-2 final score. Sharks made it interesting. Sharks made it close. And then tonight, San Jose scored first, had that 1-0 lead, and then allowed the final two goals. So, it's not to say something was let to slip tonight, not at all. But when you get outshot 35-19, and only really lose the game by a single goal, that shows you that the Sharks did keep this game pretty close. 35-19 though on the shots, and you do it by period. 8-7 in the first, Carolina. 16-4 in the middle period. Now that was also a second period where the Sharks were on the power play twice and only put 4 shots on net. In fact, in the second period, the Sharks went their first 13 minutes without a shot and ultimately only got it because they jumped on the power play. Ultimately did get 4 shots in that period and then 6 in the final stanza. Outshot 10-6 in the third period. So 7-4-6 for San Jose, 8-16-10 for Carolina. And shots don't always tell the full story of a game, but at least it gives you an idea of possession. Because I think shots and chances different tonight. It wasn't like Carolina was 2-1 on grade A chances tonight. In fact, if you probably go look back and look at that, it might actually be relatively even in terms of the actual grade A chances. But overall shot quantity, 35-19. It also tells a pretty good story of how good James Reimer was tonight. And once again, the backbone of this team, consistent, showing. You kind of know what to expect. When he joined the Sharks in 2016, it was just for that Stanley Cup final run. And I'm not sure we had a really good gauge of what exactly he was all about. Again, because back then it was Martin Jones as the number one, and Reimer was really only there for support. Now Reimer's here as the number one. And, look, you hope Kaapo Kähkönen can have a good night. Have a good night. Good to see you. You hope Kaapo Kähkönen can compete for that, and he'll get his chance tomorrow. And that's also an interesting nature of this season. Back-to-back in Europe, back-to-back in San Jose, and then you're on the road through New York and New Jersey for, was it 3 or 4 games on the road trip? So you're going to see Kähkönen get his starts, but again, how did the Sharks stay in this thing tonight? Their penalty kill, again, perfect. James Reimer, near perfect. Martin Necas, my goodness, that guy all over the ice tonight. Necas, I thought, was the best player for them. On a team littered with really good players. Sebastian Aho is no slouch, and his goal off the skate, good hockey play. He saw it coming. He kind of angled and opened up that left skate to get it to deflect. Not a kicking motion at all, and I think the nature of when Carolina scored too was also quite frustrating. 19:38 into the second period. So 22 seconds left into the second period. Sorry if I said third, I meant second. 22 seconds left in the second. And then getting the game winner 1:58 seconds left on the clock in the entire game. If you're the Sharks, if you got a point out of tonight, you probably feel a lot better about it. If you just send the game to overtime. Obviously, they don't. I think you also feel a lot better about the season when you get your first win. Now that is of certain significance tomorrow night against Chicago. A team that is not a Nashville, a team that is not a Carolina, a team that you can get these 2 points against. Even though it is the second half of a back-to-back for you, the rare home back-to-back, you don't want to go back out on the road still looking for your first win. I think as we are not going to talk about must-win situations in Game 4 of a season. We're never going to talk about that. But if there is a point where you don't want to let it slip and you don't want things to get a little bit slippery, you want to get the win tomorrow night. And in front of Doug Wilson, and we'll have a whole conversation about that tomorrow, I know. The tribute to him, well deserving of that honor. The banner that's going to go up that says DW. I mean, as much as Patty Marleau will be the first Shark to have a number retired, I mean, when Doug Wilson goes up there, there's no other individual banners up there. Everything else, right, is a team accomplishment. I guess I take it back. There is the George Gunn the third banner up there, but maybe that's obviously in a different capacity of front office stuff. Maybe less. I would say less of the hockey side, but it's different, right? For Doug, it'll be totally different for Patrick Marleau in February when that happens. Mungo, I like the comment here, and by the way, I am going to get through some of these comments here. I just can't display them on the screen because I don't have that technology here with me tonight. They're going to call Brent Burns BB-8 on Carolina, and I'll tell you this: Necas, being as good as he is and having number 88, right? Like a lesser player might just say, well, you know what, Brent Burns, you're a Norris Trophy winner. You've got a lot more years in this league. If you want 88, I'll make a deal with you. But Necas, no, he's going to keep 88 because he's good enough. Burnsy played 23 minutes tonight, 23-10, took 2 shots, had 5 shots blocked. 1 hit, 2 giveaways. I remember one of the giveaways, did Nieto take it away from him? And then Burnsy took it right back. I think that's one of his giveaways and one of his takeaways right there. Burnsy was a +1 on the evening. Other than that, I talked about, shots, the shot total tonight, telling a little bit of a story. Shots by period told a story. I think chances tell the bigger story. Face-offs were only 52 to 48% favoring the Canes. I don't think it felt like that. If I looked at this stat, well, I am looking at the stat. It doesn't vibe with the eye test. And Smitty and Brownie on the postgame show, both in agreement of that, didn't feel that way. What other stats stand out here? Shot totals for the Sharks. Luke Cunnin had 4, led the way with 4. Tomas Hertl also had 4. But, between those 2 players, there's 8 of your total 19 shots. And Timo had 3. So between Hertl, Timo, and Cunnin, there's 11 of your 19 total shots on goal. Sharks had 9 attempts blocked, 4 just missed the net. Actually, you know what? And that was a thing of the Sharks last year, I want to say. Missed shots entirely, shots that were not on the 4x6 at all. They were taken, but they were actually not put on net. They suffered from that pretty greatly last year. Just put more shots on net. Tonight, the percentage-wise, showed up with 19 shots on goal and only 4 that missed the net. Let's go back to the chat here for a second and let's see what people are saying. Oh, Mungla with a great comment. You know, I wrote this down. I thought Šimek looked great tonight, laid the body check late in the game. Also blocked a shot in the nether regions. I don't think that was intentionally where and how he wanted to block the shot, but you know, when Šimek plays that type of game, and I think it's one he can build off of, and look, if he can have some offensive upside, that's great, but if he can be a physical presence, if he can be the the almost Douglas Murray type, right, from back in the day. Sharks haven't had a big, burly, defensive defenseman in a while. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, wasn't Brent Burns on the team? But yeah, more offensive-minded. I'm talking about you don't want to try and skate around this player because you won't be able to. They will knock you over. I'm thinking of even like the Brad Stewarts back in the day. Like if Šimek can be that type of player, I think that'd be a big deal for the team. Christopher saying LeBanc hasn't looked bad. He's been in the right spots. And in the first 2 games had more shots in the slot than anyone. And yeah, you know what? Tonight, he just had that one that he shot right into Antti Ranta's crest, right? Had a really good look from a close-in range. Look, Banker, and by the way, Noah Gregor dropping the gloves with Chatfield. I didn't see that one coming, and I actually didn't really see a full total replay. I was actually getting ready to go on TV right before that happened, but I didn't see what even provoked that. But when I saw it was 73 in the tussle, I was like, what? What's going on here? But yeah, I mean, and that's the difference for the Sharks, right? Scoring goals has been an issue last year. Do you know that more than a quarter of the Sharks games last year, they scored no goals or only 1 goal? Tonight, and I hate to say this too, but here's their scores this year. 1, 2, and 1. Got to score. Like, you got to hit. Three is where your chance to win begins. Right? You can win on 2 and you can win on 1, but your goalie better be perfect. Your defense better be perfect. And that's asking a ton against a Carolina team that can create. Wondering and worried about how bad the injuries are for Mario and Timo. Yeah, and again, this is how it works in hockey. You'll never know. They're going to play through it. If they were good enough to be out there tonight, chances are going to be good enough to be out there tomorrow and on the road trip. And Timo, how about that? The spill he took. I don't want to say he collided with the official, but didn't see him there, got clipped up on the skates. I'm still not sure what exactly happened to Timo, and I think he might have just lost his wind, but he fell straight on the backbone. Didn't look comfortable on the bench, but obviously, recovered from it. Triple G saying, I agree with David Quinn. Too many turnovers and no establishment in the offensive zone. Defense needs to work on both, but the season is still young. Key is also getting Couture to play harder and better. Let me just say this about Logan Couture. I'm not here to say that like he's hit a rut, but I think Logan in different roles was able to maybe produce a little bit more on this team in prior seasons. He's getting older. Granted, that's number one, not me making an excuse. It's also not even a good reason. I mean, I think he's fully capable. He's the type of guy where, again, he did not have a bad last season. Let's be very clear about that. And there hasn't been a normal season in a while. And he also took on a lot more of a different role and a lot more responsibility as captain of this team. But he is still a player, and you all know, I mean, the person that owns the domain name, LoganCoutureFanClub.com, is right here. It goes to this very YouTube channel, right? So, if anything, I've over the years been accused of being a fanboy, which at various times, largely true. I'm not even denying it. But I want the best for Logan, and I want the best for the team. And I think he's a player that I look to as hoping he can give you, once again, just a little bit more this season. And when I mean more, I hate to say it, it's not the intangibles. I mean, like, let's get some goals going here. Let's get the points going. But then again, he's not surrounded by the same teammates as he used to be. It's harder. It's hard to, have, as a top-line center, to go up against the other team's, top 2 D-men, shift after shift after shift. That's hard. So the assignment, see what I'm saying? Like, the assignment becomes a lot more difficult when you can get matched up. It's something that's very tough every single shift you're out there. All right, let's see what else we got here. Oh, the computer I didn't notice that it was frozen for a second. Caker Girl, hey all, sorry you're late. Don't be sorry. I'm just happy you showed up eventually here. Metal Mario saying Meyer, Hurdle, and Couture should be aligned. Yeah, but see, then again, right? Like, Carolina's just going to put their best defenseman on one pair that's just going to line match all night long with those guys, right? You're putting all your eggs in one basket. It's simple as this. The Sharks just need to start scoring more goals. How do they do that? If I had the answer, I would walk downstairs right now and tell somebody important. Not like they didn't already know. I talked to David Quinn and I talked to Mike Greer yesterday after practice, specifically about scoring for this team and this franchise. Because again, this is not a new issue. We just documented last year 0 or 1 goals, more than a quarter of their games. So how do you fix it? Can you coach it? Can you coach it into them? Are they just not equipped to score? Can you spark something? You'll eventually hear those interviews, and I'll have them for you here on this YouTube channel. I also want to point out, because they both played tonight for the Barracuda, and that's how I started this live stream almost 20 minutes ago, I know there were some fans who are probably even a bit upset that Eklund and Bordelot did not start the season on the Sharks. They made the trip all the way out to Germany and to Prague and did not play a game. But I think, in retrospect, the rosters were expanded. They must have had a good camp. Quinn and the coaching staff wanted to reward them, but they knew they were the odd men out. And I am totally okay with the Barracuda starting their season, playing well, gaining some traction, gaining some confidence. Maybe, gaining some, what's the right word I'm looking for here? Not arrogance, right? But some cockiness. That doesn't fly in hockey, but you know what I'm saying. To really, and William Eklund said this when asked about what the team wants him to do in the AHL. He said, they want me to be that guy. That's what I want for that entire team. And I'm okay with being patient for October and November and maybe even through December. However long it takes for that group to surge together. And by the way, it's not just Eklund and Bordelot. There's a Weisblatt, there's a Coe, there's a bunch of good players down there on that Barracuda team. And Merkley on defense. I am totally okay for us to wait here. Let's play the patient game. Because I think one of the worst things you could do is bring them up, send them back down, play them one game, scratch them the next. I'll be honest, I think the Sharks, for recent years, not a lot of recent years, but the last few, when things were wonky to begin with the pandemic, with, roster changes and all that stuff, I think the Sharks were a bit guilty of bringing up too many players before they were necessarily ripe. And Mike Greer said it yesterday, and he used the term overripe. You want them to be dominating and you want them to be overripe. And I think that is probably the best way you can put it as it relates to those two. And by the way, Bordeleau got his first professional hockey goal tonight. Yeah, he scored the shootout winner, right, against Las Vegas in a game last year. One of the games that kind of knocked them out of postseason contention, but didn't have an official hockey goal as a pro. Tonight he does. Can I just show you, by the way, in case you haven't seen it, let me give it to you here live. Look at that. Just look at that right there. Now, what's real? I mean, you know, what's crazy is I'm looking at it here on the small screen. When I look at it here in person, oh my goodness, that is gigantic. The way this thing just kind of floats up there, and it is huge. And that screen right there, the little bottom screen. Now, you need that. There's one on this side too. You need that because honestly, if you are anywhere on the bench, obviously, or even in the first 4, 5, 6 rows, it's truly hard to see the entirety of that screen, right? Because you've got to make that screen visible and viewable to the entire second deck, to the penthouse boxes way up there, the concourse level luxury suites. You got to make it, you know, visible to everybody. But when it's that big, it becomes hard to watch. That is such a convenience right there that you still get a pretty sizable screen underneath, and you don't have to crane your neck up. Just to give you an idea, by the way, I've estimated here in person that this scoreboard is probably 1.5 times as big as the old one. I mean, in screen space, it's way more than that. I just mean like literally from that edge to that edge, or I guess that edge here to this corner. It feels like at least 1.5 times the size. That ribbon up there, by the way, up on top, that's also basically like 2 or 3 of the old ribbons in one. And the fact that it's just all one screen, and they can do cool stuff on the corners, and the sharpness, by the way, and the brightness. This is a 3rd generation scoreboard. Do you all remember what the first one was like? It was literally a Sony Jumbotron, right? It was kind of like that screen, but made it maybe like 4 of them, or maybe like 6 of them put together, like 2, 2, and 2, or maybe it was like 3, 3, and 3, something like that. And now, you know, to have that old one come in, and it was at least like a widescreen aspect ratio, and now this thing, again, edge to edge, really no edge. What am I saying? There is no edge here, but all the way around, that rounded rectangle, or maybe it's a square. I guess I should have looked at the geometry better. It has to be a square, right? But just a really nice addition. Oh, you know what else? While we're pointed in this direction, you know what's crazy? I did not look at this yet. The Doug Wilson banner is ready to go. Right next to George Gunn's banner. Wow. You know, I honestly wasn't paying attention to that earlier, but there you have it. So in case there was a question of where is it going to go, that's exactly where it's going to go. Can I also say, as I come back down here to the Zamboni doing its thing, that the advertisements you see on TV or on the boards, a lot of people say, wait a second, what's going on here? These are the old type sponsors that we're used to seeing. That is true. Because on TV, we superimpose all of those new graphics. I did a video, which I'm going to publish pretty soon on the channel here. And I have to tell you that I actually like seeing one consistent brand and logo and look around the whole rink, and I don't care if it changes during the game. It's totally fine. It can animate, it can rotate, it can do whatever. I just think it's kind of a cleaner look for the broadcast. And I have no stake in this game. I don't I don't make an extra dime off of anything that goes on, right? So I'm just saying from the pure viewing experience, I really do like the unified ads, the computer generated ads. I really do think that it's just cleaner. It really is. Let's see what else we got here to look at. Oh, there it is. Can I get all the way up that high? Look at that thing. It just sits up there. It's got the drape off of it right now. Eventually they'll bring it back down and cover it up. Stays, yeah, I believe it stays covered most of the time they don't use it. It was only designed to be used once, you can believe it, that shark head. And here we are like 30 years later, and still a thing. Let me go back to the questions and comments here. Sorry about the the camera work on the fly. Oh, there's a look at the club level, and there's a look at yours truly. Let's see if we have one last batch of comments to look at here. Caker Girl says they are pretty distracting sometimes. You're talking about the ads. See, I don't know, maybe I'm just used to it. Remember, do you remember when this LED ribbon was installed right here around the bowl, and a lot of arenas got them put in? I remember watching Sharks games in, what was it, the 2000s when this got put in? Somewhere in that decade, and thinking like, wow, this thing changes. Isn't that distracting peripherally? But we all got used to it, and I really do think that the ads, the animated, the digital ads on TV, I think that'll be the same thing. You will get more accustomed to it. It won't stand out. AJ says the digitally enhanced boards, in quotes, thank you for giving me the proper terminology, are horrible. Seeing them animate while a play is happening in the corner is awful. AJ, you must not watch soccer very much, do you? Because that is commonplace in the beautiful game. Let's see what else we have here. Caker Girl says, I went to a preseason game and wow, the scoreboard is so big, so cool. You're not kidding. And again, I like with this, I don't think you can understand the magnitude of that until you see it. And the other thing that I think people might have realized tonight, you don't know how the Sharks home jerseys, the all teal jerseys, look until you see them in person. When those renderings came out and you see all that teal on all that white background, and it's not really, there's no depth, and there's no, I don't know if there were even gloves or helmets included, but when you see this, the look in person, no matter if you really like it, if you're mild on it, or if you don't like it, let me ask you to not like seal the deal on any judgment you have until you see them in person. I think that's always going to end up more favorable than any opinion you had if you've only seen them in pictures or video, or even if you've seen it like hanging up at the store without a number on it, without the name on the back, without the whole deal. The mitts, the breezers, the socks, the helmet, without top to bottom the entire jersey, you're not getting the full experience of what it was meant to be. It's kind of like ordering a 7-course meal, but only seeing like the pasta plate. That's not the entire meal. Who has that many courses, by the way? Oh, AJ wants to know, but where is Marlowe's banner going to go? Okay. Should talk about that. I'll move the camera and we'll speculate on that in just a second. SJ Sharks fangirl, I'd rather have the ads on the screens than having them plastered all over the jerseys. Ooh, and ice, like when the Sharks played in Berlin, and the ice on the home team's jerseys were fully covered in ads. Yeah, well, and by the way, about half of the NHL teams this season are sporting ads on the left shoulder, right shoulder? I'm trying to remember. Now I'm in reverse too. I think it's their right shoulder. Right? Would that be right? Anyway, and it's a very specified size. It has to be like 3 inches by 3 inches and no bigger. A lot of them match the team's colors, so they blend in a little bit better. Right shoulder. AJ, thank you for clarifying that. I'm all backwards, and this image is reversed on my phone. So I agree that this is new. People are getting used to it, and I agree that it's better to have this type of stuff than to have the Euro jerseys and logos all over each face-off dot. I mean, that's crazy what they do. They also have bigger sheets of ice out there too. Look at AJ with all the jersey information. 3.5 by 3.5. There you go. About 3 inches by about 3 inches is the new sponsor patch. I did a video on this recently here on the channel. I should revisit it, re-promote it. Who's asking about the Guzma 4K? Is that a temporary intermission setup or permanent? So the times that we're going to be here at the tank this season, which I hear is about a dozen times total, we're going to be at that spot. The South Bar worked out great. Honestly, gives us some space, gives us some depth in the background, inside the building, which is awesome, close to the elevator, which is really awesome. Okay, let's do this. Let's go ahead and speculate for a second. Man, it's almost 11:30. I'm definitely signing off at 11:30. Oh, look at that! You can see part of my tripod here when I go completely wide. Didn't mean to do that. All right, let's do that. So where's that Marlowe banner gonna go? Huh? Does it go next to Doug's? Are we going that way? Because we're getting kind of wide here. Like we're gonna be from that 2015-16 Western Conference champions, right? That's already past the rink this way. Doug's is gonna be past the rink that way. Are we just getting wider? Are we gonna do another? See, what you could do is you could put it in front, but then it's all by itself for a certain period of time. There's room up there. I mean, you're definitely making it clear that the Sharks banners go over here, because on the other side right now, it's just the American and Canadian flag, right? So you're going to keep all that stuff over here, all of the Sharks related stuff. But yeah, that's a good question. Like, you can only go so wide, I think. Good question. Well, we'll have to do a whole nother video on that sometime. You know what I'm just gonna do? I'm just gonna go take a walk for a second. I'm just gonna see. Let's test out the wireless microphone. Tell me how good this thing works. It's only 11:27 p.m., right? No big deal. This mic might break up at some point. I don't actually know. I should go out there and just take a twirl on the ice. Why not? Man, the ground is sticky back there. Somebody spilled their beverage. Oh, look, there's a Truly, a wild. Look how big that can is. That's a huge Truly. By the way, shout outs to the cleanup crew. They do such a good job. They work their butts off after everybody leaves. I mean, there must be 25, 30 people right now. Somebody almost in every section cleaning up the building. I mean, it's amazing what a mess is made after every game. And then when you walk in every time, perfectly spotless. They do such a good job keeping this place pristine. Oh, look, nachos. No, not doing that. No. Come on. You knew that was not going to happen. Well, that'll be interesting to see if I'll go this way. If the microphone actually worked that entire time. But yeah, the joys of having a little wireless setup. So did the microphone work, by the way? AJ says that's some seriously awesome distance for the mics. No, honestly, the mic should work like the entire time. Like I should be able to walk around the entire building. I only went a couple sections. Triple G says it worked great. Somebody clipped that. Oh, look, nachos. Austin says, tell the cleaning crew I'm sorry for leaving my tender box in section 103. Hilarious. Hilarious. All right, well, I think that does it here for tonight from the tank. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And we'll be back tomorrow night. My goodness, quick turnaround. Sharks and Chicago, and hopefully what is the first win of San Jose's season. They just need to taste victory, because that alone will just help propel things. It's not gonna fix everything, right? But it helps you get that one. So thanks again, everybody. I will talk to you soon, and I really do appreciate you being here tonight on the old live stream. Good night.